All right, everybody, here we go. I don't know how I necessarily inherited this task, other than I did. I'm not the greatest cook in the world, but I am pretty good at barbecuing and pretty good at this particular meal, as you guys have all complimented me in the past. So you've got the recipe, so I'm not going to bore you with all sort of details, just a couple little things. One of the things that I think is the trick for us every year, and I think it does make a difference, is we try as hard as possible to use fresh ingredients, the freshest ingredients we can. That may be trickier this year than some, but we do what we can. So this year, I was unable to get a roast, a leg. I was only able to get ribs, and so this is my first time cooking lamb ribs, but I would imagine the process, actually I'm going to cook them exactly the same and the process will be much the same. So I'm just going to juice this lemon. I'll cut it in half. You can put these in the microwave and that'll actually produce a little more juice if you don't have a juicer like this one. This one's it's pretty hard not to get most of the juice out of it as it is. And you'll see we're going to cook both the chicken and the lamb the exact same way, so you can't have too much juice. You can use like the little, I think it's an orange, sort of lemon-shaped pre-juiced lemon juice. That works fine. I would imagine, as most recipes are the case, you can actually you can trade this out with almost any citrus, and it'll be fantastic. I'm going to finish juicing these. Avett Brothers going on in the background. Okay, so we got our lemon juice. You can't see that really, but we'll put that right there. Now, the next trick is, this is fresh rosemary. I pulled this actually off the bush at the church. This is about 9,000 times more than I need. I just grabbed a bunch. Two things about rosemary I find, having done this every year. It's really helpful if you wash it out before. Wash it off really good before you cook it up, before you cut it all off and everything. Just run it under the water real good. It smells fantastic. Give it a good shake. Let it come out. I'm just going to set this here. Now, I find the best way to do this is to grab these sort of long stalks, take them like this, so you're going to go against the grain, and just peel down. And just at the end where it's less stalky, less sticky, like less stick rather, it's fine too. Same thing here, just going to break another one off. Grab it, pull it, now I tend to not use a lot of this stuff down sort of further in the bigger part of the stick unless like I got nothing else, then I'll do that. You can follow the recipe, strictly if you want. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You didn't see that? You're not eating it. The thing about this recipe, in relation to what we're doing in particular, is it would have been all stuff that they would have had access to. They would have had access to rosemary, they would have had access to lemons, salt, pepper, all would have been pretty normal things to have around, even then for them. See, I've got a little bit less than I thought, so I'm just going to sort of stop there now. I'm going to take all of this, you dump it into your food processor, unless you really got knife skills, and you can just sit there and chop it all up real fine as best you can. I don't have that much skill. I don't want it. You don't want it terribly fine. I'll show you here in a second. You just want it fine enough. And I'll be right back with 2 more tricks. All right, we're back. I did a little work. I cleaned some stuff up. You can see this is all chopped down real good. Not crazy, you know, just enough to so you don't have huge chunks in people's teeth while they're trying to eat. Right there. Now, my favorite part. It's a very fragrant meal. Now, if you're anything like me, my general rule of thumb is the more garlic, the better. So the recipe calls for 8 cloves for a 5 to 6 pound roast, or for leg rather. I'm gonna do 8 cloves, and that's for these 2 racks of ribs. So it's not, you know, a huge amount of meat, a little bit less. I would say when we do the recipe at the church, we don't quite double it, but I would say 12, 13, you know, depending on how big your is. If you're like me, I hate peeling garlic. I love garlic. I'm trying to get it where I can hold it. You can see, hello, Julia Child. So you can see, like, the garlic's all in the bulbs. I've just broken it up. There's a bunch of them. But I learned this trick a couple years ago. So if you take 2 bowls, they're about the same size. You put it in there. You put them together, so one on top of the other like this. And then you just put your thumbs here. The smaller the bowl, the better. Shake them vigorously. And you make this face. When you take them out, the garlic is basically peeled. There's a couple little sprigs there, but it's not bad. Not nearly as bad as it would be otherwise. Peeled. Peeled. That would trick me. Whew. Love fresh garlic. Just take all this out. Yeah. You'll notice that with the garlic, when you do this though, the garlic gets a little sticky. It's the only downside. It's weird to not be doing this with Tony and Mike and all the guys that have helped over the years. But Tony's been with me since the get-go. There we go there. Easy peasy. There you go. I just rinse my hands off real quick. They're a little sticky from the garlic. Now you can do the garlic any way you want. You can, if you've got really good knife skills and you want to sit here and mince it all up, knock yourself out. I'm not that guy. I don't have that skill set. So I'm gonna clean out one of these bowls we just used. Not too worried about getting, dump the rosemary. Oh, that smells so good. In this bowl with it. Put it in. We're gonna chop this up real quick and I'll be right back. Every last piece counts. We're back to the magic of video editing. You can see that's all just minced up a little bit. It's not crazy. You don't want to purify it. You don't want to liquefy it. You just want to get it tough. Now, if you're doing the leg the way we've done it in the past, if you're doing that, what you do, you're going to take this, just straight measurements. You know, eight cloves of garlic, 3 tablespoons of chopped fresh rosemary, salt and pepper. So 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of coarsely ground black pepper. Coarse is better. If you get the kosher sea salt, that's the best. We actually go through a ton of black pepper, and because we do a lot of barbecue, and you'll see in this container, I'm not going to measure this out. This is a mixture that I use. It's got sort of not quite half and half, well, a little more salt, I think. Half and half salt and pepper that I mixed up in an old container, and we use that for a lot of barbecue and a lot of sort of dishes. You sort of sprinkle it on. That's what I'm gonna do in this case with these ribs. So in this case, you're gonna take your ribs, or in my case, if you're doing your leg, you're gonna do the exact same thing. Like I said, we're not doing anything different. Mix all that stuff together, and you're gonna just mix it up, 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 mix it up. In this case, I want to do it a little bit differently because I've got ribs and they're going to cook a little bit faster and they don't need as much of anything. So I'm going to put a pause for the cause and come right back. Okay, we're back again. So you see I've just mixed all this back up together. Good look at it. It's just a sort of little choppy paste. This one's a little more salt than I'd like, but I like pepper just like salt. So this is the part that's a little bit messy, so I'm going to do it over the sink in my case. Take your lemon juice. Just gonna drizzle it on there, rub it on good. Now I've let these ribs sit out. We do the same thing with the butts for 10 minutes, or butts. I'm thinking of pulled pork. We let the legs sit out for about 10 or 15 minutes. In this case, we just took these out about 15 minutes ago. I wiped them down with a paper towel just to get any excess blood and juice off. Rub them down real good with the lemon. The acid and the citrus is going to break down the meat a little bit, and that'll help make it a little bit more tender and give it a good flavor. And then we're just going to sprinkle it with our paste. You know, we eat lamb because that's the Jewish tradition at Passover. The Jewish tradition was that at the Passover they were told to put the blood of the sacrifice of the newborn lamb on their doorpost, and they did that, and God passed over and they were all spared. And so to commemorate that every year, that's why we eat the lamb. It's also for us because Jesus becomes, and we call Jesus the Lamb of God. Sorry, I'm doing 2 things at once. It's always tough for me. In this case, I got to save a little bit for the chicken. I'm going to do the chicken the exact same way. It was not Jesus is the chicken of God. It just happens to be that we got a lot of people that don't like lamb, that like chicken. And you don't need this to be like caked on. It's not like a dry rub that you need to, you know, be like encrusted in. You'll have plenty of bite, plenty of flavor. I'm just gonna turn these over Same thing on the back a little bit, not a ton. Now I've never done ribs, pork ribs, or I've never done lamb ribs rather, so no idea what these are going to taste like. And this one's really thin on the back, so I'm not going to do any on the back on this one. This one's got a little thicker, thick baby lamb on this one. So we're reminded that Jesus, like the lamb, is the sacrifice for us in this season. So we're almost done. We'll see, I'm going to grab this camera here. I need a steady cam. You'll see those are all rubbed down. Sorry, I'm trying not to make you sick. Now traditionally, these would have been cooked over an open fire. But in this case, I'm going to cook them on my pellet grill. It's outside. I've set it already to 225 degrees. I've got it on hickory. So that's the meat we'll smoke these on. And I'll probably do them until they get to an internal temperature about 165. The chicken, I'm going to prepare the same way. I'm going to spare you having to watch that. It's the exact same process. Rub it down with the oil. You can argue with me, Tony Carpenter, but you rub it down with the oil. Tony argues with me every year that you should rub it down with olive oil, but every year it's lemon. Same thing. We make it the same way. It's the meat that gives it the taste and the flavor. Then we'll set our oven at 425. We'll cook it for a couple hours, and when it's done, we'll pull it out. I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, you can see our chicken is all done. I'm going to put it in the oven at 425 here in a second, as soon as it gets up to temp. But so again, we want to remember that why we're doing this, right? So tomorrow isn't a Seder meal, and it's not really a Passover meal. For us, as Christians, as Episcopalians, have you hugged your Episcopalian today? The answer should be no, unless they live with you. So for us, it's not really either. What we're doing tomorrow is trying to understand where these two faiths were one and where they went this way. Up until this moment, the Paschal lamb for the Jewish people had been the lamb, which we now put on the open fire, which I'm very excited about. This is the closest to actual open fire that we wanted to do for a number of years. In this moment for us, at this last meal tomorrow, Jesus becomes the Paschal lamb for us, becomes that same sacrifice that allows death and sin and brokenness to pass over us and be no more. So we're going to put this in the oven. This is the part where Jess is going to follow us along slowly. See, look at this nice camera work. Very good, Jess. Ignore the fact that the oven says 408, 410, 411. We're going to go ahead and put this in because it's also 1 o'clock in the morning and I have other things to do. So we're going to put that in. And I'll see you guys in a couple hours. I'll show you the sort of after effect, and then I'm going to go to bed. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. So we're a couple hours in. The internal temp has got up to about 155. You can see the goal is 165, but I'm actually going to go ahead and take these off. Look fantastic. I have to reheat these tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night for dinner. And so I want to 155. That should put them between medium rare and rare. Now it's about where I want to be so that when I warm them up tomorrow, they get right to rare, or right to medium rare. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off and let them sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'll probably cut one open just to make sure. So here's the end product. Now that I did another. We had about another 30 or 40 minutes. I think that 145, they're still a little bit fatty, and that was able to, again, I've never done ribs, that was able to cook them down a little bit, get some of the fat off, which made them a little more tender and a little bit easier to eat. So we'll be ready for them tomorrow, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. God bless.